Hello, everyone, and welcome to the JustNabz podcast with me, Nabil, and
Nabeela, hi.
hello. Wonderful week, isn't it?
Yes, it has been a peaceful week.
It has. Up until yesterday, to be fair, because I read about that rapper, I don't know who she is, who ate her cat. That was
I
pretty
saw
traumatic.
that. That was traumatizing. I felt so nauseous. It
Yeah,
was Azalea Banks.
yeah. I have no idea who she is. I'm kind of.
She's a
Uh,
singer.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I know she's a rapper, but I've never listened. I mean, I've never bumped into her up until yesterday. Um, but yeah, I went to do some research, and apparently it's a ritual. So it's kind of a religion. It's an African religion. So it appears it's all legit based on what they say. But yeah,
Is it a religion or culture?
it is a religion. It is widely considered as a religion. There is
Okay, but you do
mm,
realize Africa is big and there
of
are
course, of
lots of
course.
different religions, yeah?
Yeah, of course. That's why it is regarded as a religion,
Mm.
and that is actually one of the things that beats me the most, which is people considering Africa as this big continent where everything is just the same.
Mm. Yeah,
It
yeah,
just
yeah.
pisses me off. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. When I travel, the thing I get the most is, but you're not black, and I'm like, come on now. And yeah, so and people they'll always be like, but where you originally from? And I'm like, I'm fourth generation South African, but my forefathers are from India, if you must know. And also people will be like, but how are you Muslim but Indian? I don't understand that. So yeah, this is something with, I don't know about you, like what people say. I mean, they must be like, but you're
um.
white.
Yeah. I mean. Okay. So I'm very, very white skinned. I'm literally lighter than many friends of mine who are Italian and always have been here. I was, of course, born here in Italy from Moroccan parents, but my skin is so white. Now, what that brings is in here in Italy, my name is Nabil, which is not an Italian name at all.
Yeah.
So, of course, I'm considered. I don't know why, but I'm considered to be a foreigner. And the same goes for Morocco because my skin is so light and I don't have the savoir-faire, the way of dealing with people that's very common in Morocco. So people usually spot that I'm not from Morocco. So I'm both a foreigner in Morocco and in Italy. And there was actually a good book by Albert Camus, a French writer, a French Algerian writer, one of the best books of the 20th century, which is basically this feeling kind of in the middle between two countries and being the foreigner in both of them. So
Mm,
that's my position at the moment. I mean, I do. To be fair, personally, I think that I'm both Italian and Moroccan, and I
mm,
couldn't give up one for the other. So it's quite the
yeah.
opposite for me. I'm not a foreigner here or there. But yeah, I mean,
For me it's a little different. Like I think I tweeted this a while ago about how Africa is my home. South Africa is my home. This is the only country I know. I have Indian heritage, but I don't feel connected to the country at all. Like people are like, oh, but oh, India is stunning and beautiful. I'm like, yes, it is a beautiful country, but I have more affinity towards, I feel more connected to South Africa as a country. I mean, this is where I grew up. My parents grew up, my grandparents. I was taught on this land. I was fed from, this land. So everything about me, like, I'm more connected to South Africa, definitely. So identity-wise, yes, I am brown-skinned. I'm Indian by definition, but South Africa is, I'm
Mhm.
South African.
Yeah,
That's what I identify as.
and actually you have an Arabic name as well. Now
Yes, I do.
that's the thing. That's a funny thing. It's because now the vast majority of Arabs in the world is Muslim, and in Islam, you have to choose for your children a Muslim name, which is
Mm.
mainly a set of Arabic names. That's why we kind of preserve our names going from generation to generation. Now
Mm.
you're a third generation South African, or a fourth
Fourth.
generation,
Mm.
yeah, South African, but still, you still have an Arabic name, and I love that. To
Yes.
be fair, I personally
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Uh,
So Arabs usually get very confused. They're like, but you don't speak Arabic, and you can't. I'm like, I know, I can read Arabic, because I was taught at a young age.
mhm.
The basic greetings, the basic words I know, but other than that, I'm so bad. I tried learning it on Duolingo, but it was so hard. Um,
Uh,
yeah,
I
I'm
think
gonna have to.
it is hard. I think it's one of the hardest languages to even practice. It's because
Mm.
even if you want to read it depends on the whole context. So you
Mm.
cannot
Yes.
properly pronunciate or write a specific word.
You can speak Arabic though, can't you?
I can. I do find myself struggling with writing, but I can. Actually, now, the thing about Arabic is that there's no pure Arabic right now. It's because it's so variegated, and and Arab culture goes basically from Northern Africa. Even if we're considered Africans and not Arabs, we
Mm.
are actually. I mean, our culture is intertwined um, with the Arab culture. So it goes from there up to the Middle East. So it's very wide. Now the thing about about language is the dialect we speak in Morocco is very different from Palestine, for example,
Yes.
Saudi Arabia, for instance. So
Mm.
that's the thing. I can fluently talk in Moroccan, speak Moroccan, uh, but I might struggle a little bit dealing with a someone from with a Qatari, for instance.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's the same with other languages as well. With Spanish, when you go to Mexico or Spain, they speak different kind of variants
Uh-huh.
of Spanish. So yeah, it's interesting. Languages are
Yeah.
very interesting.
I mean, even if you take just English, for instance,
Mm.
Scottish, you can I can bet my right hand you cannot properly have a conversation with a Scot. It's because their accent, their dialect is so different from
Do you
regular
see even when
English.
they tweet, they type in
Yeah.
the way they pronounce words.
Hmm.
It's I think Scottish Twitter is just the funniest place for me. I remember when Sir Alex Ferguson would do interviews
Yeah,
after United
I
games.
remember that.
I'd
Yeah.
be like, what is this man saying?
No,
Like what is he saying?
I also remember Scottish tabloids going to interview Cristiano Ronaldo when he just got to United, and he was coming from
Mm.
Portugal. And you have this Portuguese guy in front of you, and you speak Scottish. There's no way he's going to understand any of that. That's why he didn't have any solo interview for quite a long time before,
Mm.
because he always needed someone next to him to kind of translate.
A fun fact, the first video I ever watched on YouTube was a Ronaldo interview.
Was it?
I don't know why, but that's I remember is the first thing I watched on YouTube ever.
Wow. I
Yeah.
can't remember my first video. That would be so nice to go back in time. I think YouTube has a history, and I should go check it. But I don't think it was a
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo interview. Um,
Yeah,
I
mine
know that,
was.
I mean, I used to watch those pranks on YouTube when I was in high school, and um, yeah, so I think that might be one of the first videos, maybe. But I have
Not
no
something
idea.
dodgy.
No, 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 no. I have no idea, to be fair. But
My
yeah,
my favorite video, yeah, my favorite video on YouTube though was the one of the girl which was like boom boom boom. Not everybody say well.
I have no idea what the video is.
I'm gonna send it to you. It's so funny. Like she's so like boring.
Mhm.
She's so serious, but the way she does this video, it's like it's one of my favorite videos on YouTube ever. I love it.
My favorite videos on YouTube are those like stupid videos, but that in some way they make like 20 million views. So YouTube starts recommending that kind of video, and it's just nonsense. And you scroll down to the comment section, and you find all the people saying, "Oh, it's YouTube algorithm, everyone." And that's my favorite kind of video, and of course all the
Yeah.
memes and everything. But yeah,
So yeah, coming back to the whole thing about having different cultures in Africa and around the world, um, obviously religion gets translated in a different way. I'll put it like that. So, like I know for with us on like Eid, we celebrate it in a certain way. Um, and then you obviously
hmm
you do the basic religious things, but then somewhere along the line culture gets involved, and then it kind of changes the way you celebrate
yeah.
events. So yeah, how is Eid in your, first of all, some people wouldn't know what Eid is, and
Yeah.
the whole idea that there's two Eids and what is Ramadan, and yeah, so
Um, there are actually two Eids. One is at the end of Ramadan. So Ramadan is this month when we, as Muslims, we have to fast from sunrise to sunset, approximately. It actually varies on based on prayer times, not on sunrise and sunset, but for simplicity, let's say sunrise to sunset. So fasting means we cannot eat or drink anything. So I've been asked,
not even water.
right? No, not even water, not even coffee. So I've been told many, many times, not even a coffee. No, mate,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't drink water. How
yeah.
could I drink
That
coffee?
not even water part, I think it's become a meme in our communities now.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
even
we just
water.
laugh at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so we have this 29/30 days based on the moon, because the Muslim calendar is a lunar calendar, so it follows the moon cycle. But yeah, based on the moon, it might be 29 days or 30 days. At the end of this month, we kind of celebrate. So, usually, as far as I'm concerned, celebrating in Morocco is far different from celebrating in Italy. Of course, in Morocco, it's all, I prefer it, of course. We wake up around, sunrise, and we go, to the mosque for the prayer. Um, was it? No, it's actually a bit later than sunrise. It's like at 9 a.m., something like that.
Mm.
And we go to the mosque for the prayer. We pray there, and there's all this whole atmosphere which I love. Then we get back home and we celebrate with the whole family, which means eat, so much, like until you literally explode, and drink liters and liters of Moroccan tea. And yeah, it's mainly the
Okay,
atmosphere.
so for you it's tea.
Yeah, it is tea. It's
With us,
Moroccan tea.
so we kind of also have like a similar schedule. So we'll go to the mosque in the morning for Eid prayer, and then come home, have breakfast. We have, instead of tea, we have Eid milk, which is amazing. But your stomach afterwards, at the end of the day, your stomach hates you.
Uh-huh. Indeed.
As I've gotten older, I can't eat on Eid because there's just so much, and there's
Hmm.
so many options. I'm just like, I don't know what to eat,
Yeah,
so
it's
we end up
mainly
eating
also
nothing.
after a month of not eating, so you're not used to it.
So your stomach shrunk,
Yeah.
which stinks. Um, yeah. So the only time you're exempt from fasting is, when a woman is on her period, and if she is breastfeeding or like late stages of pregnancy. I know some pregnant women do fast if they like still early stages. um and then if you're sick, like super super sick, if anyone, have a chronic illness, you exempt from fasting. But it sounds like our Eids are similar.
Hmm. Yeah. You
It's
know,
always rushed though for us. I hear it's
indeed.
like in the morning you have to go to this person's house and that person's house, which
But
is
it
why
is, it is that.
I really enjoyed Eid in lockdown because we just spent it at home and we didn't have to like rush to people's houses.
Well, it is. I mean, if you look at the story, so the story is our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is our Prophet, of course. So, in Islam, the story is he came to Medina, this city in Saudi Arabia, and he basically found people all happy and celebrating and everything. And
Mm.
out of there came, and he said that Allah, our God, basically, fixed 2 days in our calendar to just party and be happy. And those two
Halal
days,
partying.
indeed. And those 2 days are Eid al-Fitr, which is the one after Ramadan, and the other one is the other big party, which is like 2 months. Yeah, 2 months after the end of Ramadan, and they're completely different. We'll go to the second Eid, the biggest one, but I just wanted to
I
remark
thought
that
no, I thought this was the biggest one.
no, I mean here in both here in Italy and in Morocco, we celebrate the other one as the big one because I mean I don't know in here now at this point culture and traditions and religion start to get a bit complicated to
Mm. The
you know,
lines become blur between religion and
exactly.
culture, and I noticed that a lot with the Indian Muslim community, where people think that cultural practices are religious obligations, and I'm just like, no, no, no. Some things were taught in India,
Yeah.
and some things are actually like from the Hindu religion, or the Hindu Indian cultural things that Muslims have taken away. Because so somewhere along the line, my family were not always Muslim. They were Hindu or I don't know, some other Indian
Hmm.
religions. So somewhere along the line, they converted. But also in India, Muslims and Indians, live together. So some cultural practices get mixed. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
So that's how it is with us.
It is at times, though, I have to say, sometimes it's our fault why the lines become a bit blurry. So we always get taught that when we are just children, sometimes parents, instead of saying, don't do that because it's bad, they say because it's against religion. So,
Mm.
for instance, don't go steal or don't kill someone because it's against religion. Yeah, fair enough, but
Yeah.
that's not the point, is it? So at times it gets so in a European context where the Muslim community is smaller than Africa, for instance,
Mm.
lines get really blurry, and at times people think that in Muslim countries women can't drive just because in Saudi Arabia there are these hogs that prevented women from driving. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to make this as clear as I can. We are not all Saudi Arabians.
Yeah.
So they are a specific country with a specific culture and a specific tradition, and they like to mix it with religion. But that's not
Mm.
religion. I mean, they are literally less religious than many other Muslim countries. So
Yeah.
I just want to make that clear. We are not like that. Those are, particular hogs who do some certain things like denying access for women to stadiums
Yeah.
or things like that. I mean, that's not us. That's not Islam. That's Saudi Arabia. That's the very first distinction we have to make. So yeah, at times I think it's also our fault. But other than that, we do need to make our best to do our best to make a distinction between culture, religion, and tradition. Because as we're
Yeah.
seeing, even my way of celebrating is not even near to yours.
Mm. And I know it's also different when you go to Egypt, when you go to
Hmm.
Algeria, anywhere in the world. Eid is celebrated. So we kind of have the same ritual. So all the prayers are standard.
Yeah.
The prayers at the same time.
Hmm.
But then when you go home, things are different, which is interesting. I One of the things I really want to do is celebrate Eid in different countries and just experience. Like I said, I love Christmas. I love Eid time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So here in
but also
Italy,
like no, no, no.
uh,
Continue.
yeah, no, just to say because it's cool celebrating in different places in the world, but here in Italy, for instance, it's not as fun as it is in Morocco. Now, it is cool because we have found a Muslim community, so we kind of celebrate
Mm.
together at times. So we do go to
Okay, that's
pray.
nice.
Yeah, we do
It's
go
nice
to.
when you have a community.
It's essential. It's essential because it's
So wait, so how did your family end up in Italy, by
so
the way?
yeah. So my family wasn't meant. So it's just me, my brother, and my parents are
Mm,
the only people
okay.
here in Italy. Yeah. So my parents were not meant to end up in Italy. At first, they were meant to go to the US because they had a chance to go and study there.
Oh, you would have
Uh,
loved that.
no, not at all. Not at all. I mean, not a single day. But yeah, they didn't go there for various reasons. So, as any average Moroccan, they looked up to France, and they went to visit Lyon, a city
Mm,
in France, and
mm,
Paris, of course, and they kind of didn't like it. So the other option was Italy because at that time, so I'm talking about my father came here first in 1988. In that period,
so that's quite
many
recent.
yeah, it is, but they've actually spent more. I mean, more than a half of their lives here in Italy. So they crossed that balance limit between the two countries. But yeah, it was basically many people from Morocco, from Northern Africa, were coming to Italy in that period, and they came here to Italy. Now, funny enough, the at least 90% of Moroccans coming to Italy, they usually went to Milan and Turin, which are Milano
Mm,
and Torino, which are the two biggest cities and Napoli as well, the three biggest cities in Italy. They didn't. They came to Florence, which is this small super artistic and historic city in the middle of Tuscany, and they came here, and I'm so glad they did so. And
So sometimes I get so jealous of people of color who live in like really nice European cities and whatnot. So I always ask my mother, I'm like, why were our ancestors so stupid? Like, why would they leave India and come to another third world country? Like, well, why couldn't our ancestors have gone to like somewhere in Europe? Um, but I mean, I love South Africa. Like I said, I have a very deep connection with our country. But yeah, I always wonder, like, what were my forefathers' thought processes? So they actually, it was my, okay, I don't want to mess this up. So it wasn't my grandparents, wasn't my great grandparents, it was my great great grandparents.
mhm,
They came to South Africa as businessmen. So obviously all the men were businessmen,
mhm,
and the women were obviously housewives because, that's tradition.
uh-huh,
You ladies stay at home and make the babies. Um, and so that's how we got to South Africa. But I used to tell people at school, I'm like, you know what? I'm a descendant of Genghis Khan, because of my surname, and like people believed me. They were like, oh, "That's so cool." And but, I mean, somewhere along the line, someone must be related. But the thing with our bloodlines, even our grandparents, is only a certain point where you can trace them till, and then
mhm,
before that, you don't know what happened in your family line. And it's something I'm always like very curious to know what went on in my family, generations before me. I I've actually been learning or reading up about something called intergenerational trauma, where so last week we kind of touched on colonialism and colonization. So I've been reading about this thing where colonization affected our ancestors, because it displaced them. They were turned into slaves,
mhm,
forced removals, and taken healthcare was taken away from them. So sometimes, so it all started like, where you feel, I don't know about you, but I don't know if anyone listening ever feels this, like you have this random moment where you like get really sad, or some things like make you like really angry, and you wonder, like, where is this stemming from? And so there's this thing called intergenerational trauma, where colonization affected our ancestors in a certain way. I'm not going too deep into this. This is just my understanding of it,
mhm,
and like very lightly, I'm just going to touch on it like super quick. Where things affected them, and because therapy wasn't a thing back then, and they couldn't talk about their pain, or they couldn't really heal because they always had to be working, serving, and all this pain and emotion was bottled up. And years down the line, this pain was just passed down and passed down and passed down, and in each generation it manifested as something different, as some sort of different pain. So the pain of losing children, I know somewhere down the line in my family, there must have been women who lost babies, who gave birth to stillborns, and that pain, then they never got to heal from it. And so generations down the
mhm,
line,
mhm,
we still feel this because energy is a currency. So energies get passed down. And so this whole thing, I follow quite a few therapists, who deal with decolonizing your mind. And they teach you how to heal heal your ancestors' pain, basically, which is really it's so interesting, and it actually makes you think. Our ancestors never got to rest. They were always working, and they were always on the move, and they had to survive. So now we are lucky to be the generation who have access to resources, who have access to therapists, who have access to so many things our ancestors never got. We have leisure time. We actually get to relax. And so things like you resting is an act of resistance. It's an act of decolonizing your body. Yeah, so that's just my understanding of it. But if any of our listeners, I know I posted about it last week, and a few people reached out to me to say, like, this is so interesting. So, I mean, if you want to chat to me about it, you can reach out to me on social media. And we can talk about it, and I'll direct you to the accounts or to the websites that I've been on, and you can read up about it. You as well, Nabil, if you're interested in this.
Hmm.
But yeah, your lineage sounds like you had the good end of the stick. Um, Mine not so much. But
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
somewhere along the line, there must have been pain.
yeah, but I mean, we always deal with colonization as if it was all the same throughout whole Africa. So Italians going and colonizing some parts of Africa were doing some horrendous things, which did not happen in Morocco, for instance, because
Mm,
French colonization was
was
lighter.
different.
Yeah, it was
Mm,
lighter. Well, first because Morocco uh, didn't get properly colonized by France, and France was also, especially during the Second World War, it was subjugated by Nazis, so it didn't really have this much power in Africa and its
mm.
colonies. So that's another
So
reason.
we were both my countries, mine and my forefathers' countries, were colonized by the British. So we have this problem with colonization led to other issues like colorism, where in the Indian community, people favor lighter skin. And also, yeah, so there's things like that. Then there's also grind culture where, you know even till now, like, if I'm lying down on my bed and my mother walks past, I still like get up and like pretend to be doing something constructive.
Yeah, but that's
It's
common. That's
Yeah,
common.
it is, but like, where does it stem from is my thing. It's We were taught you always need to be doing something productive with your time. You always need to be working. You always need to be making the most of your time. But why can't we just rest? Why can't I just have relaxation? So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think that comes from colonization, though. I think
I think that was it stemmed from it. Like, colonization led to sub issues.
no, because you know why? Because that very same thing. I know it was kind of a meme here in Italy as well, among Italians, among Europeans. But I think that comes more from a more, let's say, capitalism oriented culture. I don't think it has
Yes,
to
but
do with colonization.
who brought capitalism to these countries? It was the
Capitalism,
colonizers.
no. Capitalism as an economical system has always been there.
Yes, but
And
systems of economics were established by Europeans
there's
mostly.
no properly socialist country in the world now. So it's not, again, I don't think it's on colonization. And
So
colonization
you, I
is
know we never gonna agree on this. So for you, it's not about but for me, for my whatever experiences I go through, I link it back. And not
okay,
only
and
me, it's like anyone
that's
in my who goes through similar experiences, who grew up with the same kind of lineage as me. It's that is the root of our
okay.
anger. That is the root of our
What I
pain.
okay, what I say is that
It's
colonization, of course, it's been bad and it's brought pain. But what I say is linking every single thing back to colonization in some sort of way doesn't help healing from colonization. It's like having some kind of disease and linking it back to when you were young and you fell and you hit your head. Now, hitting your head when you're just a baby is bad, but having a flu in your 40s does not link to that. So that's what
so
I'm
no, it's
saying.
it's different. But so you need to identify the the problem. So why are you feeling pain? Like what is it? So how can I move past that? So it doesn't, you don't have to bring it up as colonization. So with my issue, so just say I am struggling with body image. Okay, so for one, let's say I'm just really insecure about my skin color. That's colorism, and that was, what our community brought, made a thing in, use skin lightening, and it made you insecure. So okay, that's my issue. The issue is colorism. How do I get past this? How do I assure myself that I am good enough being the color that I am?
Yeah, but
So that's part of the healing thing.
no,
You don't have to say it's Colin. You don't have to say, "Oh, Colin." There's nothing you can do about it. It happened. You need to accept it, but also heal, move on, put it to rest. Everyone takes time, so it might not be our generations that's fully healed. 2 3 4 generations down the line, it all depends on what resources you have access to, what mindset you in, the climate that you live in, the environment, how your environment shapes you. Does your environment feed your pain, or does it feed healing? Does it allow you to heal?
okay, but what I say is do not link every single thing back to colonization. You know why? Because I've seen that in Morocco for a period of time. Every single thing that happened, there was this thing in the early 2000s and maybe up to the early 2010s. When every single thing that happened, they said, okay, yes, but the French came and did this. Another thing is, that your country, my country, no country was perfect before colonization, and then colonization brought bad
No, I'm
things.
not
That's
saying
not how,
that.
yeah, wait, wait, wait. That's
No,
why I say, that's why I'm saying you cannot link any disease, to colonization. I do think,
I'm not talking
person,
about diseases. I'm talking about
no, 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 not health
issues.
diseases. Yeah, yeah, that's okay. Issues. You cannot link every single issue to colonization because that would mean that your country was perfect up until colonization, and it wasn't like that. Not at all. And Africa was struggling behind even before colonization. Now, what I say personally is that Africa.
It made the issues that they were already struggling with worse.
No, it's not true. It brought some other issues. Some issues were made worse. Some other issues were solved. But it is not all on colonization. You cannot even think that. You know why? Because I think that Africa and many Africans at some point they start going on this path on living in the last century and blaming every single thing that went on in the last century. But in that very same moment, they are setting the path to keep struggling in the future, not saying just accept it and move on. That's not how it works. And every single one, as you correctly said, every single one needs their path. But what I'm saying is stop blaming just colonization and taking it as the excuse for many things not working. You have corruption. Now, Africa is one of the most corrupt continents in the world. Corruption, yes, there was corruption in Africa before colonization. Then came colonization, and in some countries it made it worse. In some other countries, it did not make it worse. But corruption is there, and we are in 2021. So if you want solve corruption, do not live in the 1950s and say it's all on colonization. Focus on 2021 and solve corruption without focusing and blaming it on Europeans. Yes, Europe
I
did.
so the thing is, I don't want to solve corruption, and I'm talking about personal healing and healing the pain of your family and your community and your generation as individuals.
That's never
Corruption and all
going.
those big issues can be solved by governments.
No,
And like I
no,
said
that's not
last
true.
week,
That's not true. That's not true. Literally not true. Governments are never going to solve corruption.
I
I
know. So
see it
that's
in
why. So
Italy.
as I said last week, it's doing the groundwork, getting involved in your communities. You start by small. You start by with yourself, and you start making a difference in your community. And then once you know, if everyone helps their own communities, you make your communities better. It becomes bigger. It's a ripple effect. It's bigger and bigger, and that's how the issue is going to solve itself. You can't just go straight for the head.
Okay,
You need to start somewhere, and it's small steps, small bites.
of course,
um
but just don't blame everything on colonization because that's never going to help addressing the real problem and finding proper solutions. Because no one, and literally no one, is ever going to be free from this mental thing going on from generation to the other until their countries are not struggling anymore and are on a brighter path. It's only when South Africa, for instance, will be on a path to a brighter future, then people will be feeling better and feel kind of healing from this intergenerational pain they've been struggling with. So work on your countries, to be fair. I mean, personally, of course, work on your countries. And I'm so proud of my African origins, roots, anyway. So proud of them. And every single one is proud of them, even if they don't say it. But Africa and some African countries and some Africans need a clear wake up call to stop living in the past and pursue a better future. Um, we cannot. I mean, I would love for my continent, Europe, who did the majority of colonization, maybe all of it. I would love for my continent to be helping Africa and in the same way they destroyed it. But realistically
so
speaking,
yeah,
that's not going to
spoken like
happen.
a true European.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think the only way you can, help, as you say, is let African voices be heard. Don't talk over us when we trying to tell you what our pain is, and you like, actually no, we are helping you. Don't tell us how you trying to help
No.
us when we are
No.
telling you clearly what our problem is.
Well, no,
And
no, no, no,
the
no.
first issue to everything is listening to the people who are being oppressed, or who are struggling, or who are suffering.
Who's
And that's the
shutting
only
you
way.
down?
You
Who's
can't
shut?
give people, you can't help people in a way that they don't want to be helped in. People want to be so in Africa, the issue is they want to be educated and have ownership
Yes,
of their land.
yes.
Whereas, and then Europeans are coming in and say, oh, here's food parcels for you, here's food, here's money, here's, but you're not empowering the people the way they want to be
No, that's not.
empowered.
That's not what's happening. I mean, it is happening in some specific
You
realities.
telling me what's not
What? Wait.
happening? I'm saying as an African, what I
No, you're
see
not
every
African.
day.
You are South African. So it's
I'm
not
so
all
Yeah, so
South
I'm telling you
Africa.
from a
Yeah.
South African point of
It's
view what I
and
see.
for instance, in Morocco, it doesn't work like that. So what I say is, first of all, I cannot speak as a European. I'm speaking as an Italian, for instance. I do not believe that Norwegians or Swedish people think just like I do. And in the same way, as a Moroccan, I could not speak for Africa. So no one should feel entitled to speak for a whole continent.
No,
But
no one is doing that, but people are speaking for
okay,
their own countries and their own
having
communities.
having said that, what I believe is no one is shutting you down. No one, at least in a working template, in a working system. No one is shutting you down. What Europeans can do to help heal, at least economically, is to invest. Investing means bringing the expertise. So, for instance, a company, a European company who goes there and gets on their payroll both Europeans and Africans. So we can bring the expertise, the manufacturers to Africa and help Africans learn and proceed to open their own companies, their
And
own
I'm not saying that
industries.
doesn't happen. It does happen. I mean, I know people who work for, European companies who've, collabed with African countries, and it works. They're doing well here. They're empowering people. I mean, there are European companies that are doing like absolutely good work here in Africa. So I'm not shutting it down completely. It's working. The people who are doing it right. There's just a lot more that needs to be done from both ends, from both sides. It's not a one-sided thing. Everyone needs to be having conversations. Everyone needs to be playing their part. Yes, I know the corruption is a massive, huge issue in South Africa and Africa in general, and I hate to see it because it's people, it's governments and people in higher powers hurting their own people
Yeah.
to fill their pockets. And it's sad. It's very sad. And to witness it and live it firsthand is even sadder. I mean, every day we pass communities who have been neglected, or townships that have been neglected. They don't get given basic things like housing. I mean, people get tenders, so these companies get tenders for housing and they just never build the houses. And then 2 years down the line, people are demanding their house. They're like, where's our housing that you promised us? And they're like, oh, we don't have money. So what happened to the money? They're stealing the money. They're putting it in their pockets. And this is what needs to stop. And this is where people need to be held accountable. And this is where communities need to be sitting on the people who are responsible for these issues case. So yeah, it's long. I'm not the politics student, or I didn't study all this, and I'm just speaking from my experiences and what I witness firsthand and what I read in our local newspapers and our through our channels. So that's the story from my end. And yeah, anyways,
Yeah, and I just want
you
to.
obviously have a different life experiences, and you see the world differently because you don't necessarily get to see some of the other ends of the world, just maybe through the internet. Or but yeah,
What
it's
kind of
not like
ends?
down
Which
to,
kind of
so
ends?
obviously it's not like I can't be like, oh, you're a bad person because you have these opinions. It's also obviously because of our lived experiences, we're gonna view the world in a different way. And it's the case across the world. No two people are gonna have the same opinions and views on things because everyone has a different lived experience.
Um, yeah, but what I do is because, as I've said, I am not completely out of the whole colonization end result. I have seen communities being struck by colonization itself and French companies who stayed in Morocco and profited off their backs, but they bounced back and they used that expertise to grow up and build their own space. And that is that kind of resilience. And instead of looking back to the past, looking to the future and fighting for a better future, that's what I liked, and that's how I would like the whole continent to be.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely. I mean, that's what we all
and
want. We all
yeah,
want our own, ownership of our own
of
land, we
course,
want ownership of our own stuff. We want to be independent. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like a kid, like a teenager. You want your parents to see you as responsible. You can handle your own car. I mean, they obviously gonna foot in for petrol. They'll pay some of your expenses, but you want to feel like you are on your own 2 feet at the end of the day. I mean, when you become an adult, it's a whole different story because you just want to move back in.
Yeah, of course.
But we're talking about countries, not. I'm not talking about myself here.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, I just wouldn't like people to look at us. I mean, we're not the generation. Mine is not the generation who did all of this. So uh, do not, if there's anyone there who has some kind of resentment towards the whole Europe, and I'm sure there are because I've seen them mainly after the last episode. Um, uh, do not hate on Europe. Today's Europe is not the Europe that did colonization. Today's Germany is not Nazi Germany. So it
Yeah.
is fine to address history. It is not fine to go to conclusions after going through history and bringing those conclusions, the end result, to today's generations. We are not those who colonized you, and I don't think we're ever going. That path is long
I can
gone. It's
imagine you
never
coming
coming
into
back.
my country and being like, "Give me your land."
Yeah, I would be a not a clown. I
You,
mean, I think
Nabil.
I'm
And
I'm
I'm
the
like,
one.
"Oh, look at this
I'm the
European man
one.
trying to steal my land here."
I
I
couldn't
mean, okay,
handle. I
but I
couldn't
mean, I was
handle.
I was joking with some friends the other day. We were like, "Oh, but if Jack Grealish came washed up on our African shores, I would freely give him the land."
Alright, that's a bias.
And that's like sometimes I look at Europeans and I'm like, oh, you can have my land.
Okay, that's the inside joke in South Africa. Fine.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we South Africans are the best people. I mean, every in any serious situation, we make a joke out of it. Memes
Mhm.
on end, jokes on end, WhatsApps on end. I mean, this whole situation with I don't know how big WhatsApp is in Italy, but in South Africa, that's our primary,
Yeah,
source
here as well.
of
Hmm.
communication. Yeah. So, this whole thing with the WhatsApp changing changing in inverted commas their privacy policy, which has
Yeah,
been
it's not changing here in Europe.
yeah, so people are all like skrook now. They're like, oh my God, Facebook is stealing all my data. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna switch to Signal. I'm just gonna deactivate my WhatsApp. Girl, you finish post your lunch on Facebook. You have about 45,000 pictures of your child, and you are worried about your privacy now. Nee, girl. Nee, nee,
Oh,
nee.
yeah.
Facebook already
I
knows everything about you.
To be fair, I agree with her because I got off Facebook trying to get off Instagram, and I would gladly give up on WhatsApp. I don't like it. User
Mm.
experience is
Yeah,
one
yeah,
of the
yeah.
worst user experiences I've ever had on an app. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't have
Mm.
any Apple Watch integration. This is a first world problem, but yeah, whatever. Um, so I would gladly give up on WhatsApp, but still, so
No,
many
no, no.
people are
Yeah,
using it.
definitely. I'd give up on all social media platforms if I wasn't this deep into it.
Yeah.
But it's just funny, like people's reactions are just, and then the memes that are coming out of it. Like I saw one that was so relatable. Where it says, "Crush, I love you." Oh no, no, you say to your crush, "I love you," and then crush says, "I love you too." And then there's a picture of like people cheering, and it's like WhatsApp headquarters, and it's like people all cheering. I'm like, yeah, that's
Wow.
funny. Like if someone had to be, in my head, they'd laugh. I wonder, like, imagine there's someone sitting at the bank going through your bank statement and they're like, Haha, she spent 11 rand on jelly tots. Haha. I'm just
Well,
like,
those be having a lot.
I mean, it's
What's
a
the
funny
co-
thought to have. I know they don't like. I hope they're not, but realistically, I don't think they would be going through each person's bank statement. But it's a funny thought
No.
to have sometimes.
And how's the currency in South Africa called?
With the rand,
Rand, and it's out
very
of
weak.
info. It's like 50 rands or €1 maybe. No, how many?
15 rand a
15
euro.
rands.
I think it's at 15.
Okay.
When when I went to London, we were paying 18 rand for a pound,
Yeah,
which was steep
it's
because
got.
then you're like
Oh.
sitting there converting, like, oh, 1 pound sounds so cheap. But then you thinking, you remember in your head, oh, like, oh shit, this is actually 18 whole rands
Wow.
that I'm spending. Yeah. So our rand has been doing badly for a while now.
Yeah.
It's getting worse and worse.
Well, best of luck.
Yeah, which sucks for me because I still want to go to Switzerland.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I hope you can make it sooner than later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I think we should wrap this up so we can keep it under the hour.
Under the
Um,
hour. Yes, we have 4 minutes left.
yes, and yeah, I mean, again, if you want to have your say on the matters we've discussed, just reach out to us.
Do you know
JustNabz
what we should do?
podcast.
Do you know, I had this super great idea. Why don't we get people who are not from a country,
Uh huh.
or their parents are not from a country, but they are in that country. So if you're living in the UK or the US or wherever, but you're not initially from there, reach out to us. Let us know what's your story. Like, do you want, people can share their stories with us, how they got there. I mean, we can call it, how did I end up here? I'm very interested as to how people ended up in the countries that they are in.
Yeah, me
So
too.
if you want to share your stories, just reach out to us on social media, JustNabz Podcast or JustNabz. And what's your new Twitter handle?
Mine is like the Nabil here. Because I've got
Okay.
suspended yesterday. You see, I can't handle a Twitter
Ah,
account,
yeah.
let alone coming and colonizing you.
You had it coming. You deserved it, to be
I do,
honest.
I do. Well,
Yeah,
anyway,
fully. So your song of the week before we wrap up?
song of the week is Audacity by Stormzy.
Hmm. Okay. Good. That's a
Love
goodie.
it.
Yeah, love Stormzy. That album was heavy as the
Yes, heavy
head.
is the
Heavy
head.
as the head. Yes, that
Yeah,
was a good album.
yeah. And what about yours?
So I've been listening to a lot of songs this week on
Mm-hmm.
repeat, but I wanted to move away from music, and I actually started watching Hector Bellerin's little mini document series that he's doing on YouTube. It's called The Unseen.
Okay.
Um, so it is about his journey after
Mm-hmm.
his injury that he got, I think about a year, just almost 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, it's called Unseen Journey. And
Okay.
he just basically, you know, the side of football we don't see, the mental
Yeah.
strain that the players take on after an injury and not being
Yeah.
able to do what they love. So he opens up about his whole journey not playing football for the time. And I really admire the guy. He started his own media house or media agency where they work with brands, create content for them. It's very cool. You should check it out. It's called Be Engaged.
Okay.
That's his agency. So he's been doing a lot of stuff, photography, fashion. So I watched the first episode today, and that was really interesting. I think there's a few more episodes coming out in the coming weeks. So
Well. Yeah, have fun. I
that's gonna
have
be
picked
cool.
up on French I'm relearning French. I'm
Oh,
quite
nice.
fine
On
with it, but yeah, I'm doing it the old style. I've
also okay.
bought a book, Le Petit Prince, The Little Prince, which is a very famous book and it's recommended for children. So
Mm.
I'm taking up on that, reading, going through the dictionary, and going back again. And
I
as
regret dropping German because I mean I watch my crush's Twitch videos and I'm just like he talks in German and I'm like I can understand like some words that are similar to Afrikaans,
mhm,
but the most of it I'm just like damn, why did I drop German? I've been doing well with my Spanish,
really,
so I just need to practice like the pronunciations of words, but I can
mhm.
kind of understand full sentences now, which I'm proud
Okay.
of.
If anyone of our listeners is speaks Spanish, please reach out to her and help her with her pronunciation. Talking
Yes,
actually
we can have a
helps.
conversation in Spanish. Um,
Yeah. Good luck.
Spain Spanish, not Mexican Spanish or Argentinian Spanish. It's Spain Spanish.
Absolutely. So, uh, best of
I
luck.
can say I have a cat in Spanish, but
Have a
I'm
cat.
scared I'm going to say it incorrectly. It's Yo tengo un gato.
Yeah, it's not okay. Here's the thing, because many Anglophones do that. It's not Joe. It's yo. Yo
Yo.
tengo un gato. Yo tengo un gato.
Isn't it
Muy
cho?
guapo.
Like cho?
It's not. Yeah, it's not Joe though. It's not
No,
like
no, I did. No,
J.
not Joe. Like cho, yo
Yo.
tengo.
Yo.
Yo tengo.
It's a weird movement with your
Yeah,
tongue. You have to do with the
that's the
back of your
parts that
mouth.
I need like
Yeah.
practice with. Is like because it's weird talking to Duolingo, like pronouncing the words to Duolingo because it can't correct me. Yeah, but reading I can understand it.
Yeah.
Almost.
Easy. Anyway, have a wonderful week, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will catch with you next week. Stay safe and goodbye.
Bye.